Hey guys, this is my Ring of Honor DVD review of Night of Appreciation. This took place April 27th, 2002. This is the third Ring of Honor show, and this is Eddie Guerrero's last show. And the thing about this was really interesting was Eddie Guerrero was the Intercontinental Champion while the show took place. He had already beaten Rob Van Dam at Backlash, and he was still he still had a commitment to wrestle for Ring of Honor, so he actually wrestled on the show with the title. They had pictures of Eddie with the Intercontinental title in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So, I think this was really beneficial to Ring of Honor to see, Eddie Guerrero as the IC champion in PWI magazine. So, but as far as the show goes, it's probably one of the weakest shows from 2002. There's just not a lot on here to talk about. But there is a Match of the Year candidate and a must-see match, and probably the most underrated match in Ring of Honor history on this show. So let's get right down to it. The first match was the Hit Squad versus the Christopher Street Connection and Prince Nana and Tower Boy. This is kind of like a three-way tag match. I don't know. This is kind of like a clusterfuck, but in pretty good intensity. The Christopher Street Connection knew they couldn't beat the Hit Squad, so they got people to help out, like Allison Danger and Prince Nana. And I don't know. This is kind of a weird way to open the show. So next up we get Jay Briscoe versus Tony Mamaluke. And this is very good stuff. This had a very, very nice pacing. Great action here. Very, very surprising. Jay Briscoe finally got a win. He hit a Jay Driller. The crowd went crazy for the Jay Driller. At the time, it was a pretty innovative move. And Mamaluke, he looked better than I usually see him. Better than usual. Mark Briscoe looked very young here. He was kind of accompanying his brother to ringside. He was too young to wrestle at the time because he was only 17. So yeah, just some awful acting by Mark Briscoe after the match was over. He was kind of upset that Jay won, so now he's trying to act like he was jealous of Jay. I don't know. That was kind of a weird storyline. But next we get Xavier versus Nunzio versus Scoot Andrews, the Black Nature Boy. Nunzio, his name is Maritato, Guido Maritato here. This is a three-way match. This is all right. Nothing to really write home about, but it was pretty good action. Really, the ending was pretty cool. Xavier tried to do like a splash up the top rope, and then Guido just countered it into a Fujiwara armbar, and Xavier submitted. So that was an okay match. But all right, so next up, this is the match of the night, and definitely one of the Match of the Year candidates, and probably one of the most underrated Ring of Honor matches of all time. We get AJ Styles' Ring of Honor debut against Low Ki, and holy shit, this is amazing. This could have been a 5-star match, maybe if it went maybe 10 extra minutes and just had a better finish. But God, these two just dished it out to each other. There was so many great counters, reversals. It was very stiff. AJ, the crowd was going crazy for AJ because this is the first time they saw him, so they seen him do a lot of stuff that they'd never seen before. This is different than the AJ Styles in TNA. He was a lot more technical, a lot more mat-oriented here, and I thought he was great, though. Low Ki was in 2002 was awesome. It's kind of like watching Bruce Lee or Liu Kang out there. He was just very, very awesome. He has very little body fat on him, so he's able to do stuff that no one else could do. Like he did a bicycle kick, and him and AJ did a lot of. AJ countered the key crusher into a DDT. That was sick, and just a lot of great stuff here. The finish, I guess AJ was kind of going for like a Styles Clash or kind of like a Razor's Edge. He was going for something, I don't know. And then Low Ki just countered it into a small package and got the win. So they were kind of trying to, the commentators were kind of trying to make it sound like Low Ki just barely got the win just by the skin of his teeth. So so next up we had Christopher Daniels versus Donovan Morgan. Donovan Morgan's one of those guys from the West Coast. Obviously, I think Christopher Daniels had a lot to do with him coming over to Ring of Honor. I'm sure they knew each other because Daniels is from the West Coast. And that's one of the things about Daniels. That's why I think he's very important in the Ring of Honor, because he was very instrumental in bringing guys like Samoa Joe and guys like that over from the West Coast. So definitely Christopher Daniels very valuable in that aspect. But as far as this match goes, it was just a way to establish Donovan Morgan as a force. Daniels really put Donovan Morgan over here. This is kind of like a friendly matchup because these two guys eventually became part of the Prophecy stable. Yeah, Donovan Morgan's okay. He's kind of overweight. He has a pretty good finisher called the Golden Gate Swing. That was a pretty nice finisher. This is a pretty good match. Nothing special, but it was technically and athletically, and it was pretty crisp. So next up we get the Texas Wrestling Academy Gauntlet. All these gentlemen were trained by Shawn Michaels. So in this match we had Michael Shane, Spanky, Bryan Danielson, and Paul London. Match started off with Paul London versus Michael Shane, and then Michael Shane ended up getting the win. So then it was Michael Shane versus Spanky. Spanky and Michael Shane had a pretty good match, and then it was, I guess it was Spanky versus Bryan Danielson. This went on a little bit too long when it came down to Spanky and Danielson. Maybe like 5 minutes too long. It was pretty good stuff. The crowd wasn't really into everything they were doing, but surprisingly, Spanky ended up getting the win. He hit two. What do you call it? The sliced bread number 2 off the top rope, and it took him 2 times to finally put Danielson away. So the second one got the job done. Yeah, I mean, this is a very good gauntlet match. I really can't complain. Everyone in the match could work. So next up we get the main event, Eddie Guerrero's last match in Ring of Honor. We get Eddie Guerrero and the Amazing Red versus the SAT. And this is a pretty good match. Everyone came out to pay respect to Eddie Guerrero during the match. They were kind of in the entranceway, just standing there low key, and everyone else was there. And as far as the match goes, Eddie kind of stood out. Eddie Guerrero seemed like he was in a different league as far as his conditioning goes and just what he was able to do in the ring. But yeah, it was a pretty fun match. SAT tried to stretch Eddie out, but eventually Eddie hit a brain buster, and he did a gory special to get the win. And the aftermath was pretty fun too. You could see Eddie, playing. He had the Intercontinental title with him, so he gave it to Amazing Red, and then Amazing Red was kind of embarrassed, so he gave it right back to Eddie. And you could see Eddie was just smiling the whole time. You could tell Eddie had a great time. So yeah, and this is a pretty good show. I say match for match, and it's from top to bottom. This is probably better than the Era of Honor Begins. But yeah, it definitely has the great AJ Styles low key match. It's a must see match, and if you love Eddie Guerrero, you probably want to check out this show as well. All right.